Welcome to this evening's IMU Board of Trustees of Electric, Water, and Communications. Today is September 25th. Monica, would you please take roll call?
Yes. Selgrave.
Present.
White. Present. Smith.
Yes.
Braska. Boyce.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we would take any public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, would you please step forward to the lectern and state your name and address for the record. And we have no one for public comment. So moving on to item 4, we have a motion, first and second, to approve the consent agenda discussion. So moved.
Second.
Awesome. We have a resolution approving payment application for number 4 for the Turbine 8 Controls Project. I need to read that resolution. Okay. Mike, any comment?
No, it's just the next payment for the work that they've done.
Okay. Any conversation, question, discussion? How about approval of claims? Any discussion or approval related to those? Okay. Minutes from the last meeting?
I think there was one little glitch in I think she meant your name, but she put Deb Smith.
Oh, I read right over it.
I was over something, and not that it.
Well, both of us together, you can't read that, right? Monica, you'll double check that?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, Mr. Shaw, would you like to talk through the July financials?
The meeting is moving quickly along, so I'll move quickly along. This is just for the month of July, and the only thing I did is I went back and kind of looked at the budget for the previous year, and you guys did a great job. So, I mean, that'd be important budget for 23-24. So, I'm assuming you did another good job for the next year. And we always know about capital, the timing, and sometimes you budget them, it doesn't happen. The one thing I need to do is spend some time with Chris on the fiber, just so I have a better understanding. Some of those month-end expenses over revenues, they bounce around a little bit.
Right.
I guess I thought maybe they'd be just a little more steady because
I think we still consider that a startup business. We're
Right.
hoping it will smooth out, but at this point, we haven't really seen that point of continuity yet.
And then knowing it was a warm summer, I just had to find some things here. The gallonage in the month of August was down, from the previous year. And I'm thinking, this was a hot summer, wasn't it? And as well as the kilowatts, they were down too.
Right.
I thought, gosh.
And so was water, wasn't it? I thought when I looked, water was down as well.
Maybe it wasn't so warm in August. I thought it was. Anyway.
It had a couple of hot days, but on average it was
Wasn't like
cooler.
that.
And yeah, we saw a 4-ish% decrease in electric usage.
Anyway, just those are my comments.
And those are important comments because that is our revenue stream. So if we are down with usage, our revenues will also be in that category, right? Okay, thanks, Doug. Any questions for Doug or for Chris and Chris? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that then, Monica, would you, all right, Dina first and second, let's Gary first and second.
Yes.
Monica, would you take roll call?
Selgrave.
Yep.
White.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Boyce.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion is passed. Okay, moving on to electric utility items.
Yeah, so I bring everybody up to speed. I know the question come up here on that turbine fuel. We had a special meeting about ordering that or purchasing that fuel. That project is still on hold. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but that's still out there if it would happen. The downtown square project, we're moving right along with it. The south side, as you may know, it opened up for the most part. We've got pretty much about everything we can do, and they're done at this
You
point.
mean for the most part? I thought it was open.
It is open. finished up a little bit of stuff after it opened on the west end. There was still some restoration, but, yeah. And we, of course, still got work later on to do, but we're out of the way on there. North Alley, we, finished up, getting things ready to where they can do concrete. They just gotta wait to get the brick pavers down in the North Alley so they can even get a concrete truck closed. But it's coming along well. And then the West Alley, we did some work in that last week to get across B Street from the Methodist Church over towards the parking lot in order for them to get that paved back. And then they continue to do the utility work in that alleyway. And my plan is to send the crew right behind them, and we'll try and keep after it for this fall yet. And then whatever we don't get done this fall, we'll pick up next spring.
So I did stop in, I know you guys were working there in the alleyway on the north side.
Yep.
And Angie asked about the overhead lines, and I know that's not us.
Right.
But who all is part of that overhead?
So there's CenturyLink and MediaCom are the other two.
Because, and she said it, I didn't actually think about it, they can't get freight trucks back there because the wires are too low.
Yeah.
And so, and she understood that it wasn't IMU that was holding them, but I guess I hadn't really thought about freight trucks needing to be back there and hadn't thought about how low they were.
Yeah, I know they get some semis back in there. The biggest problem they have, I think, sometimes is being able to get in and out of the alleys. If with vehicles parked there, they don't have enough radius to make those turns.
Okay. Well, she did
Sometimes.
mention that the height was a problem.
Yeah, I think you got to watch some places. I know garbage trucks are going down through there as well, but yeah, most of the time it's CenturyLink or MediaCom. They've got those low hanging drops, or they've gotten hooked or something like that, and then they become really low.
So is there anything the city can do to request those changes that we haven't already done?
Yeah, I know it's been discussed all the way clear to the lawyer level.
Okay.
Those are chronically a challenge.
Yeah.
We deal with them.
Yeah.
Transient directive.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you just kind of get used to seeing them, and I hadn't really paid attention, but
Yeah. And like I say, once we get the electric off there and with Kurt going underground as well, I mean, that'll take a big section of it out, but there's still, I don't know if you want to call it spaghetti, it will be.
it kind of looked like spaghetti.
Yeah, there's a lot of small wires up there.
Thank you for entertaining my question.
Yep. And then South K Street, I do have a meeting set up this Friday with the city engineer and our engineer just to discuss our, what they're going to do as far as moving forward to make sure if there's anything that's going to affect us as part of that project. Just follow up and make sure we're all on the same page.
Have they made a decision? I thought
I don't
that
think
was
they've made
back
a
to the drawing
decision.
board.
Yeah, I think they are, but they're just seeing if this is, I think the intersection of K and 92 is, something's got to happen no matter what. And so that's kind of the key area. Anything south of that, we're really not discussing anything with that part of the project. So yeah, I think that's the main part of that.
Okay, you'll keep us posted.
Yeah, I definitely will, for sure. Like I say, I'm gonna have our engineer involved with it, just so we're all on the same page. And
I would guess the state would have to be involved with that too. It didn't even say highway.
yeah, there'd be some DOT permits and right-of-way and things like that. They'd have to be involved with part of that. I think there's some grant money they're gonna go after as part of that too, for that intersection.
So would you anticipate that work happening at this fall or just the planning?
I think just planning this fall. Yep.
Are they going to put a stoplight in? They've really never said. Is that what they're wanting to do?
I don't think so. My understanding, it has to do with elevations there. When you pull up there, it's kind of a steep incline coming up out of there. I think they're trying to slope that out and fix the
Well,
radiuses.
one time weren't they wanting to, rather than because isn't it kind of a zigzag on where it's coming from on the north side to the south side?
Yeah.
Didn't they talk about one time redirecting
They talked,
that?
yeah, the JK realignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's out.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, quit speculating and you can tell us what you want.
So, that's all I have.
We'll take our engineer hat off. Okay, thank you. Water utility action items. I need a first and second motion on the authorization for Warren Water to serve 3 customers within their territory.
So moved.
Should we do all three together?
Yes.
All three together, so moved.
Second.
Any conversation, questions?
I was just gonna say, Justin, that you provide the maps, but it's difficult for me to understand where our water is and where the house is. Just, I need context for kind of where it's at, what part of town and that sort of thing. It was
How
just-
far it's out?
Yeah, it was hard to see
Okay.
what
Yep.
we're depicting on there.
Mileage or separation.
Yeah.
Any additional comments, Justin, about these 3 in particular?
No
More of
problem.
the same?
Yep.
Okay. All 3 different streets, though. Any questions for Justin? Justin, we need to do roll call now.
Yes, White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Celebrate.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is passed for those out of territory. Any water utility items, Justin?
Yeah, I don't have anything new to speak of. Like Mike said, streetscape. So we are working with Absolute on the west side. Had a few issues, but hopefully.
Minor issues?
Yeah, we had a hit on Thursday. Wasn't necessarily their fault. It was just an unknown that we didn't know was in the ground when they hit it. So we got it temporary fix on it Thursday night to get brick house and everybody back water, and then had to do a shutdown on Friday at 1:30. So it was after their lunch rush, and then the dental clinics are closed as well. So didn't affect too many people, but it's up and going now. There will be a few more shutdowns, just tying people over, but hopefully the majority of them will be done now.
So when do you anticipate doing the complete shut-off?
It's all weather related. They're going to focus. I talked to Absolute today, and they're going to focus on the north half of that alley to start with. So we'll do, and they're going to plan on that hopefully tomorrow or maybe Wednesday to start tying services over on the temporary system, and then a month or so to the permanent. So hopefully all goes smooth, weather holds out, and we can get it all done. But if not, at least half of it will be done this fall.
So does it impact everybody on the west side of the square, or just those select businesses you called out?
Everybody on the west side of the square, yep. From Salem to Ashland there. But we give them enough heads up, and hopefully it's not too big of a disruption for them. But
How long is the cutover kind of activity? Does that take a day, a half a day?
no, so like Friday or Thursday they were without water for I'm gonna say 2 hours, and then Friday we had them down for an hour and a half. So not
Not
too terrible long, but long enough.
Disruption for
Yes.
sure.
Yep.
And then, was it a week or so ago that there was the water main break on 92 across from Indianola? 2
Yeah,
weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. We unfortunately we've had our fair share of main breaks. Had another one again this weekend. So it's just
So I noticed that one still had markers around it. Has that one been fixed and we're just waiting for concrete?
has not. We're just waiting for it to settle out before we pour concrete back, and that's just also going down to manpower. Unfortunately, most of the ones that we've had have been in the streets, so it takes a lot more prep and manpower to get them finished. Yeah. So, and then other than that, just business as normal. And
So when we have an outage like that or an emergency like that, I noticed A&W had to close for the day. They didn't close for the entire day?
no, we were able to. So then, 2 houses to the west of them. I went to her door. It was an elderly lady, and she was very easy to work with. But we hooked up a garden hose to her outside spigot, and basically backfed to A&W, and then we just credited her water bill for that month.
Oh, that was creative.
Yeah. So if we can do what we can, we'll get them watered, but
I thought I actually saw a note from James that they were closed.
they did, I don't have the dates are mixed up, but we had put notices out because we were gonna do a nighttime job and they were gonna close at 9, so it wasn't,
So it wasn't a lot.
no.
I was just curious if they had to close, is that on them? Do they carry insurance to call a day out of business or?
Business interruption.
So it'd be in their policy, not something on us?
The deductibles, right, so
Right.
this amount of time would apply.
But if it had been longer, I guess that's why I was just curious if we would have had any obligation on that front. Not typically. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's all I have.
Okay, other questions for Justin? Okay, I noticed you don't have a fiber topic, anything to report out for Kurt?
Install times are kind of right around our targets, kind of plus and minus a couple days of those targets, so still going good. We did get bids back for the NOFA projects, and while the engineers are still going through those to make sure everything's in order, by all indications, they are favorable, so we'll have all that discussion, the plans, bids, and specs, and expect to have a recommendation at our next meeting. Fingers crossed, they're looking good.
And you mentioned the other day we still are struggling with the beach work that needs to be done.
Yeah, it's kind of a comedy of errors with that. Union Pacific is, working with us, but they're a much larger organization and a little more of a effort to get stuff resolved there. Heading towards the right direction.
So it's kind of a 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, really. As far as our Pella, we are expecting, with the exception of Beach, to have all the splicing done the week of October 9th. So that meeting will have everything spliced except for Beach. And they are expecting between the 9th and the 18th. The 18th is their current expected completion date for Beach and all. So unless.
Which is not far away when you think about it.
Yeah, for as much as this has become, they're wrapping it up quick, and so everything's looking as good as we can hope for the problems we've had.
Okay, thank you. Combined water, electric, communication action items. We have consideration of approval of utility accounts to be written off and to use any customary collection method, including submission to the state asset program, and to charge any applicable collection fees. Alicia, you want to talk through this?
Yep, it's pretty much the same as quarter one, and we're a little bit higher, but not out of the ordinary by any means.
That's why I just kind of glanced at it, but it seemed like it was. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Nope, this is a roll call. Nope. Sorry, motion. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'll stop jumping ahead. That would help. Chris, any additional items, or do you want to jump into the Veterans Day topic?
No, I'll have some informational after this, but
I need a first and second motion to approve the resolution amending the IMU employee handbook to include Veterans Day as a paid holiday.
Second.
Conversation, discussion. Chris, anything you would want to add?
This would just be to formalize the Veterans Day holiday and then the employee handbook to include that. We would also reach out to the union and draft an MOU just to have that on file. Memo of understanding having the Veterans Day holiday.
I assume this matches what the city's doing.
Yes, they approved it last Monday at their meeting.
So they pulled a committee together to help review the holidays. Were there any others that they were recommending?
Not that I'm aware of.
I thought they did.
Do you know off the top of your head, how many holidays do you take off? This would be 10. 10? Yep.
Which matches the federal government's as well. I checked.
I should just ask you.
I just random.
Any concern, question, discussion? Okay, Monica, would you take a roll call, please?
Yes. Boyce?
Yes.
Selvig?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, any additional items?
For informational purposes, just soliciting any comments if you have it. In my discussions with Ben, the city is going to approach their budgeting a little bit different this year. As you recall, last year we had our kind of October meeting where we discussed capital improvement projects. This year, the city is going to work on or prioritize the O&M budgets first and see what fits into capital projects, for lack of a better term, work backwards into what they can accomplish. So that does, it will change our progress a little bit, or our process, I guess I should say. I don't think there's any need for that October meeting where we kind of have our CIP worked up, but the city is not close. And so I don't think at this point that joint discussion will accomplish what we wanted to. So I'm going to recommend we move that discussion to probably January, February, when the city's a little closer to completing their budget process. I think the move towards pushing the CIP backwards will probably slow down what the city is accomplishing. With Ben, I think he's had a little bit of concern that they got a lot of projects in the air. With this way, I think they're going to be slowing that down and giving the council folks a little more discussion room as far as where they want to set the budget or the tax rate in comparison to what it'll complete, which I think will, my feel is that'll probably slow down their projects, and so to that end, I think that'll work better in our schedule. For the past couple of years, we've worked hard, kind of following behind the city projects. Probably still do that to a certain extent, but I think the city is going to be slowing down some of their CIP, so maybe a little bit of breathing room for us, or at least that's my expectation. We'll kind of see. We're still working with the city and going to see what we'll develop out of that. But just wanted to let you know that October meeting is probably going to be our January meeting now.
How will that affect if we have to order materials if we don't know until January or February?
I mean, I think it still does put some ordering pressure on, and where we are seeing our largest back orders is in the electric, and I think Mike and I, what we have discussed thus far is, regardless of what the city does, we're probably still concentrating on the downtown and the First Avenue sections. Unless there's something surprising coming out of the city, I don't expect that to change. We've kind of got that planned out, and
But if they give us a surprise of some sort, do they understand with the way they're going to do it, that we can't be held responsible if we can't get materials as quickly as they want?
And with all of that, I did, in my last discussion with Ben, I gave him what our kind of mock-up of the CIP is and what we're expecting to do and projects to spend. And certainly he's working that through with his staff, and we haven't got any red alerts on potential issues. So I'm hoping that means, we're at least sharing what we can, and maybe if there's a decision point, the city can kind of follow with some of our expectations, or at least stand a better chance of that. So electric is going to likely be, unchanged unless there's something significantly surprising coming up. Water, I think that it will still be our problem area, a little more predictability as far as what the council might select as their priorities. Because we contract that stuff out and we'll be likely working with the city on a lot of that, they're gonna be part and parcel with that delay, and their engineers will, probably be working up the drafts, and so they're gonna be aware of any of those time pressures or supply chain issues that'll slow them down,
So
just as much
Chris,
as us.
will we have an opportunity to see their plan before they present to council for vote? Because we should be able to inform the plan if there's something on there that we would anticipate running into trouble or issue. So they'd be aware of that when they vote.
Yeah, and like I said, as Ben's working it up, it's gonna be on the backside, but I think we'll still kind of work alongside them, or at least be aware in our
I think to Deb's
construction
point,
meetings.
that's gonna be really important, because if the council's gonna make decisions, we need, again, for them to have as much information as we can provide them.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
need to try to help influence certain
Right.
projects as well.
Right.
Yep, exactly. So, we'll continue that, and I think, like I said, electric's probably gonna head in the same direction. Water could change, but they'll be very involved in that. And, we've got our projects kind of,
I just wouldn't want to get behind the 8 ball again like we were with that K Street project.
yep, we've communicated that all, and, we'll be working with the city to, at least minimize all that stuff to the extent possible.
Okay, thank you.
We do have, just as a strategic plan update items, most all those plan items are consistent. We did a review in July, and there's been no major changes. As far as the infrastructure goes, we're finishing up downtown. All that stuff is on schedule and, meeting our expectations. So be glad to get, at least the water wrapped up and some of those things wrapped up, but progressing. The other item we have on our calendar to start the discussion, looking for a little feedback from you guys, is in regards to utility rates. And I'll kind of go through each area and maybe a global recommendation. With the electric is meeting all its financial targets. The budgets are very consistent. We did have a cooler summer for the past 2 years. Actually, it's been cooler. 2 years ago was a little cooler than this year, but still down under seasonal averages. Is having good financial performance. Right now, there's the panic of the natural gas is largely gone away. So with that, I'm expecting less chance of any rate increases on the mean side. So we should see some consistency, if not just a small rate increase on electric.
Did Maine get their contract cleaned up and re-approved? The one that they were here to talk through?
We are still very deep in those discussions. We've met with our attorneys, provided Mean some feedback. Means reviewed those, had some comments exchanged back and forth between the attorneys. I think later this week, the group of the three of us are going to reconvene, look at that feedback and decide where we're going to go from here.
The reason I ask is there won't be anything in that would influence our rate decision.
No, I think all of this is kind of on the little higher level policy, really having to do with, termination clauses and who's going to be responsible for what. The day-to-day operational expenses are, going to be no change to operations, so really no big changes as far as that goes. As far as water and potential water rate issues, infrastructure replacement is a priority there, and in comparison with electric, I think construction inflation and chemicals have hit water a little harder as a percentage of operations. So those, remained a little more strained. Our rates are currently right around that average to a little bit below average. We'll certainly have more discussion as time goes on, but, you know, and as the budget develops. But, you know, again, no big highs or lows or anything to be concerned about there. As far as fiber goes, you know, video will always be a concern. I don't think this year is going to be any different, you know, with video being the market that is. So I would still expect to see some, you know, rate impacts on that, and we'll know more as through the end of the year. We've got another, you know, there's about a 3-year phase on contracts. We'll have a concentration of them coming up in December, and that'll largely tell us what needs to happen as far as video goes.
Did we see any impact from the strikes that were with did we lose any business because people got fed up with the companies?
No, we're still maintaining, you know, our subscribership is still kind of unexpectedly high. You know, really no changes there. You know, on a consumer level, I don't recall any impacts or comments.
Well, now it's football season, so I'm not gonna let it go. But I was just curious when we were talking about those strikes have been. I mean, they're 5 months old, so new content's not out there.
Yeah, thus far we haven't had anybody come forward, and you know, unfortunately the providers aren't offering us discounts either, so we're getting reruns at the same price.
Joy.
Oh, maybe that was. You know, so taking all kind of 3 of those together, we were, you know, from time to time going to take reviews of our rates, and really on the electric side, was hoping to accomplish a rate study. My recommendation is probably going to be to hold off on that for now. Financial performance is good, and we're you know, still completing all the infrastructure projects we need. My recommendation for that electric rate study would probably be as we get into the undergrounding project, once we've got a year or 2 worth of undergrounding, to see how far and how fast they get. That'll be I think the ideal opportunity to review the rates on a larger schedule. You know, they are still competitive with you know, our peers in mid-am. You know, if not a little lower in a lot of cases. So I don't see the need. Those can be lengthy, take a lot of work, and quite expensive to do a full cost of service study. I think that money is best spent a few years in the future rather than right now.
So Chris, on that, I think it seems like the last few years, you and Chris have kind of done that cost study on your own internally. And then prior to that, I think we had Mean do it for us. Is that the approach you would take, is to see if Mean can do it again, or an outside third party?
This time, it has been Mean kind of provides those updates. They're not really looking down at the detail and cost structure and times and peaks and stuff.
Yep.
You know, and we've kind of traditionally thought that's been okay because our residential load and commercial loads, you know, they ebb and flow a little bit, but they're relatively consistent. So, you know, since the last time those deep studies have happened, we really haven't, you know, shifted to 90% residential or 60% commercial. Or, you know, we're kind of at that steady range. But it has been quite a while, and I think, you know, just to keep our competitiveness, I would like to go into a little more in-depth one this go-round. That would probably be a third party where they do a deeper dive and actually look at load data and costs and peak. But like I just said, I think our timing is, that is a couple of years out. Once we got some underground infrastructure and that process down, I think that'll be a little more cost beneficial than right now.
So you're suggesting that we review the water rates then?
The water, I don't think we need to. There's not a pressing need because we're an average. You know,
at this point, we're holding all rates likely for the coming
Certainly on the electric side, I think water still has its infrastructure and inflation challenges. That's kind of getting all of our budget attention. We'll go through those kind of internal financial modeling, information, the larger study-related stuff.
Can you bring it back?
Yeah,
Sorry,
we'll
I
do
was
that
jumping
too.
ahead. I thought you were saying we weren't going to do that.
Yeah, no, we'll do that. Just internally, we're not going to hire an
Right,
outside.
right.
We get good competitive information from the AIM study.
Okay.
And where we're at, I feel comfortable we're still providing good value. And, again, the residential commercial shift has not changed much. We're doing that financial modeling for the budget purposes, but I don't think we need to get down to the cost study, commercial residential yet. I think we can continue on the way we're doing it now for the next couple of years. And it would be interesting to see what the electric cost of study looked like. If that remains relatively consistent, then I probably wouldn't, go and spend the money on the water. But if there's a larger change between how we need to structure the electric rates, that's kind of indicative that there was a shift between commercial and residential, and we'll likely need to look at that on the water side as well.
Will we likely see that conversation in January or early February?
Yeah, as we're, working on the O&Ms right now, as soon as we get good feedback out of, what those chemicals have done, and if we can get those, handled and contemplated, that's all the stuff that, early January, we'll have a pretty good idea. Those rates may be influenced by any CIP discussions with the city. If we need to kind of extend and do an extra project, we'll know it at that time.
Because that's what I was going to say, Chris, is we've talked about this in the past, and it ties into our strategic planning, that obviously we need to meet our operating expenses, but then we need to make sure that what's left we can put towards our capital plan and carry out the things that are in our strategic plan that we want to do. So to me, that's how we should look at the rate studies, is making sure that on the capital side we can get that done.
Not just crunching what's left over.
Right.
It's we have pieces of work that we know we want to complete, and what will we need to be adequate in being able to accomplish that.
Yeah, we're certainly, we'll know that in a little more detail. We're kind of laying out we've got the CIP worked out, and, get some cost estimates developed out of that, pay attention to the operations, and, to the extent that there's an issue and we need to fill gaps, we'll certainly start that conversation as soon as possible, but, I'm not expecting big shifts.
Okay, so another survey we've talked about entering into is our salary survey. Will we have that to inform this year's budget as well in time?
Chris has kind of prepared some information from, I think a lot of people did salary studies this year, and we got a lot of good information on that. I'd like to chat with you, at our next meeting and kind of show you what you have. It certainly is something that we want to have, but we've got a pretty good basis for comparison right now, and like to share that and see if you guys see value in spending money over the top of that.
Okay, but the intent would be any findings we would have to help us set budget for 24, 25.
Yeah, if there's any, big changes, how we would schedule those out, we'll have those, but certainly before we
Okay.
assemble the budget.
And that's all roles? Yes.
One more item. I'm just thinking about solar, and I know that plant or the project won't be up and running until, next summer, sometime late summer.
Yeah.
And I think the way it is sitting right now, the rate that we'll get charged for that is slightly less than what we're paying me. Is that still the case?
Yeah, they haven't changed the contract. Time has progressed. They haven't changed the contract,
Good.
or asked about it.
And so that should, it may be pretty small, but that should help us when we're doing our rate analysis since that'll be, our cost will be a little bit lower with that.
Yeah, on both of those, as far as the rate analysis goes, you know, they're down probably gonna be 7% underneath that wholesale number. And we also don't have transmission charges on it, and that is a little more unpredictable about what exactly those will be. But transmission hasn't got cheaper, so as we have 5% of our power, you know, developed here, or 30% at any peak time, you know, particularly during those peak times, there is a big chunk, you know, there's gonna be 4.1 megawatts we're not paying transmission on. That'll have a strong financial benefit.
Yep. So that needs to
on
be
that one.
factored into the analysis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else under combined items? Other questions for Chris or any of the team? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Or is this a roll call? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned, 6:10.
Perfect timing.